got a question here from Matt Macca. Hey guys, Matt from Melbourne. I just bought...
Australia?
Yep.
Nice.
Excellent.
Spoilers, that's coming later in the question. I just bought
I have a question for him. Go ahead.
Matt from Melbourne. I just bought an X-Hire kilt and it only has 2 buckles and straps, 1 on each side. My other kilts all have 3, 1 on one side, 2 on the other. Is this a sign of a fake kilt or any other reasons for concern? Cheers from Australia.
That's a great question, and we know exactly what the answer is for a change.
The
Gotcha.
Usually just BS.
we actually have someone feeding us the answers on a teleprompter right there. You just don't know.
We have a little AI machine here.
Exactly. A lot of times, he said it was an ex-hire kilt.
Ex-hire kilt.
For those who don't know, hire is the British term, or Australian term apparently as well, for rental. So if you buy a kilt from a rental agency or a hire agency, a lot of times they will leave off the hip strap because it allows for a little bit more give or take in the hip measurement. Higher kilts are often done to a 6 or 7 inch waist to hip difference, and they'll just have buckles on the top right and top left to cinch around the widest part of your waist, and then the hips are just gonna fall where they may. These kilts were not made specifically for the individual or every individual or
Not at
whatever.
all.
It's just made for a fleet of kilts. And then once the kilts have been, rented out 10, 20, 30 times, and they've been, dry cleaned and the stuffing kind of knocked out of them a little bit, before they're bound for the garbage bin, rental companies go, okay, this kilt, it still looks okay. It's resellable, but it's beaten up a bit. Maybe there's a pull here or there. Let's sell it now so that we can recoup our costs and move it along and buy some new kilts. So he has an ex-hire kilt. Frankly, that's the reason why the hip strap was left off. And some kilt makers actually leave the hip strap off of kilts as well. There are kind of two thoughts on it. I'll give either side of the coin. If a kilt is made properly to your measurements, like the hips are properly tapered to your exact measurements, then in theory you don't really need a hip strap because it just needs to be held up top,
Right.
and then it tapers down, boom, good to go. I've always kind of taken a little bit of a different tack in that the only problem, because I've done a 2-buckle kilt for myself as well, and what I found was when I would sit down or spread my legs or move or whatever, I always found that the front apron kind of like pulled to the side a little bit, and I always wanted the second strap to kind of keep the tension, because on your left-hand side as you're wearing the kilt, it's actually, the front apron is sewn down about 8 inches. That's the fell. That's the length that it's sewn down. And if on the right-hand side, you just have the top buckle, it's only 2 inches or 2.5 inches down from the top of the kilt. You have a longer attachment point on the left and a shorter attachment point on the right. So as you move, the front apron can kind of twist this direction a little bit. So I've always been of the mind that putting the second apron strap on for the hip measurement allows it to be a little bit more even, connected, right and left side.
That's probably why people have defaulted to doing a hip strap. Honestly, it's because of that little extra sense of security. I mean, kilts have not always traditionally had a hip strap. In fact, I think Mac has informed us at one point that a lot of the military kilts never had a hip strap, especially going back in the day. And you may also notice that the way you can tell it's an ex-hire, ex-rental kilt sometimes is because there's extra holes in the straps.
Or longer straps.
Yes, straps.
Indeed.
Yeah, both. Yeah. So it doesn't mean you have a bad kilt at all. It's a different kilt.
Yeah, and the connectivity of kilts has evolved over time from literally nothing, and you just wrap it around and
belt it.
hold it on with a belt, to little cloth ties to tie it closed, to buttons for some historical examples, to single straps that are in, let's say 3/4 to 1 inch wide on the tops, to our standard today, for the most part, 1.25 straps. Some companies use 1.5 straps. Some use two buckles, some use 3. So it's an evolution. And 3 buckles, 1.25 is kind of where we've ended up for the most part today, but Not every single company does it the exact same way. And as Eric said, that's fine. It still wraps around you. It still has 8 yards of cloth. It still has deep pleats. It's good to go. Don't worry about it. I wouldn't get your knickers in a twist, so to speak. I would just wear it, and as long as it fits you well, be happy you got a deal.
Yeah, probably a good deal.
Yeah.
Don't get your pleats in a bunch. I don't know. Hey, thank you for joining us for that little discussion. I was really stoked that we had somebody from Australia tuning into the show and asking us a question. So tell me now in the comments, where are you from? Celtic and Gallic culture spans the globe, and I'm curious to know just exactly where you are and how you celebrate your heritage in that place.